This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Yeah, my wife says the craziest things to me when I don't have my hearing aids in.
What is that? Who sings that? I don't know how you find these songs, Dwayne, but well done. Dr. Ted Venema joins me in studio with Susan Flynn, both audiologists, and we're talking about next-gen hearing. And Susan, this is kind of about what you do with Resound and exactly what the technology is capable of doing today. So let's talk about the state-of-the-art technology you can get in hearing aids with Resound. What's out there? And I think a lot of people will be impressed.
Yeah, so Resound is really based on our cornerstone of everything that we do is innovation. So that's the cornerstone of our business, and we kind of always like to test the limits on what we can do with a hearing aid. So Resound was actually the first manufacturer to do what's called the open fit hearing aid, which is the #1 prescribed hearing aid in the world right now. I believe it's about 80% of the business.
What is that?
So they're just little tiny hearing aids that have a wire, and then there's a dome that sits in the ear. So the problem with hearing aids for a very long time, as Ted said, they had feedback as well as they were uncomfortable. So it was because the hearing aid actually plugged up or occluded the ear. So actually when we made that innovation that a hearing aid could be an open fit in your ear, then it became more natural sounding. So that was a huge innovation in the hearing aid world. And now hearing aids are extremely comfortable now because of the open fit.
So you're able to let your ear hear what it can and then supplement what it can't.
Exactly. So this works really well for people that have normal low bass frequencies, and then they also have treble loss, so what Ted has been speaking about. So basically it means that the bass can enter your ear naturally and the treble is amplified by the hearing aid. And the audiologist, of course, fine-tunes the hearing aid to do that.
And also the background noise is another big one. Did you specialize in that?
So usually the #1 complaint of anyone that has hearing loss or anyone that wears a hearing aid is the background noise. So as Ted said previously, we do use certain algorithms in our hearing aid to try to subtract the noise floor from the speech. So essentially when you're in a noisy environment, the hearing aid is monitoring that environment, and through what's called spectral subtraction, which is essentially an algorithm to take the noise out of the speech.
So it's looking at the spectrum of sound and subtracting the sounds you don't want to hear.
Yeah, so speech has pauses in it, and generally noise does not. I mean, it's just a straight floor. So what the hearing aid is doing is actually saying, okay, this is speech because there's pauses in the speech, and in those pauses, then you'll be able to see the noise, and then the hearing aid actually subtracts the noise floor from the speech.
Can you give us an explanation of just how powerful these processors are now and how quickly they monitor the sound? Like what are we talking here? What kind of processing power do they have?
It happens in literally milliseconds in hearing aid world. And, you know, there's a conversation where I know that we have TVs where it goes up to so many like pixels, and we have hearing aids that are actually so reactive to the environment that you wonder if that reaction is, if you're going to be able to perceive that. But they're very reactive to the environment, and it happens within milliseconds.
Yes. So you have also with special microphones. Is that what you're using as well?
So we use what's called directional microphones. So hearing aids have been using these for quite a number of years. So that's also how we try to combat noise. So basically a hearing aid can be surveying the environment with what's called omnidirectionality.
Omni is all around.
All around.
Right.
So if we were in this quiet environment, the hearing aids would be in omnidirectionality because, you know, we want to hear Ted. And
so if you're going for a walk through the woods, you want to hear the birds and hear people running behind you, maybe, things like that?
Exactly. So then when you're in a noisy environment, the hearing aids sometimes go into what's called directionality. So this is basically the hearing aids microphones will try to zoom in on the person that you're speaking to and decrease some of the background noise. So basically through spectral subtraction or noise reduction, as well as our directionality strategy with our directional microphones, that's how essentially we try to help people hear better in noise.
No, I'm thinking the perfect example of this is in a restaurant. You've got somebody sitting right across the table from you. There's a noise. You've got background
Oh,
music.
yeah.
The waiters are going clinking and clacking and there's other, and conversation can get lifted a lot.
Oh,
It
yeah.
can be very noisy. So you're looking at the person and you're telling me the hearing aid can help subtract all that background noise and focus in on the person you're speaking with.
Yes. So if the person that you're speaking with is directly in the front of you and the noise is in the back, then the hearing aid will tunnel towards that particular person.
And think about a restaurant is probably the worst or the harshest listening environment because of clatter of silverware or people gabbing at other tables. And so when
And
you
the thing is that the hearing aid has got to be able to differentiate between the person you want to hear and the people you don't want to hear.
Yep.
To the hearing aid, it's all voices, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
So when you're talking digital noise reduction, as Susan's talking about, you're sampling the noise between the elements of speech. Noise like a fan or an air conditioner is zzzz. And same with even the hubbub and babble of background speech. That's why we use the words hubbub, babble. It's blah, 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 blah. But the sound of my flapping gums, pop, 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 speech is very staccato. It stops and starts. Da, 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 da. And so what Susan is saying is that hearing aid is sampling. Is it steady state in intensity like noise, or is it choppy like speech?
I've got an interesting question. So when you're in a restaurant and it's noisy and you've got this system where you're focusing the microphones on the person in front of you, I'm speaking now and then I stop and Ted will start speaking now and I'm maybe not speaking for 30 seconds or a minute. What happens in that 30 seconds? Does the hearing aids go to a different program, or is it changing all the time?
So the hearing aids can be changing all the time. So Resound has some different directionality strategies in comparison to some other manufacturers, which are strictly what's called beam-forming hearing aids that will always tunnel towards a particular person. So Resound doesn't actually believe that the hearing aid can always decide what you want to listen to. As you said, you're around a table. Both of you might be talking at the same time. Who knows? The hearing aid can't simply decide who you want to listen to.
Sure.
So
that's the selective hearing we joked about.
Yeah,
earlier.
exactly. So in Resound World, we actually give you more awareness of the environment in that situation. So one hearing aid might be tunneling to one person, so in directionality, and the other hearing aid might be an omnidirectionality.
Really?
So giving you more awareness of the environment.
So because you have two, you can have interesting. Because now back to the eye-ear comparison. I had laser surgery on my eyes, and they said, "Do you want to have one for distance and one for closer vision?" Wow. And I said, "People do that?" And they go, "Oh yeah, one eye is better at distance and one's better at reading." And I thought, "No thanks, I don't want that." But in the hearing situation, I could see how that would work.
Yep.
So you could have. Could you even cock your head a little bit and have the one that's closer to the person hearing their voice and the other one hearing the background?
Well, I mean, I think your story about your eyes is a very good analogy for the way that the brain works and the auditory cortex works. So essentially with your eyes, if you had to get that done, one of your eyes would be, if you wanted to see close-up vision, then your brain would take over and say, I need to read now, I need to read. But then actually, if you want to see something far away, then the brain would say, I'm going to use this eye and see far away. And it would make a complete picture. So essentially with one hearing aid in directionality and one hearing aid in omni, that's what we're trying to represent with the auditory cortex as well.
So your brain takes over and fills in all the pieces.
Exactly.
Right, amazing.
That's the idea. I know Resound is the only company that does that with directionality.
Yeah, and we've been doing it for many years.
Now, one of the things we've talked about Resound in the past, and Dr. Venema mentioned this, that you do a real sort of a natural, try to replicate a natural surrounding because, Ted, you've mentioned in the past, you're not replacing their hearing. It's not the same way you would hear. It's helping you. It's the name is absolutely perfect. It's a hearing aid, right? But you're also taking it the next step to trying to be able to hear if somebody's running up a path behind you or a car is coming from the right or the left. Can you explain that?
So everything that Resound does is based on what we call, again, innovation as well as biomimicry. So that's just mimicking the natural ear. So again, we do that by the awareness of the environment that we're giving you through our directionality strategy, as well as we do have certain algorithms in our hearing aid that will let you better localize sound in space. So
that's the left and the right, in front and behind,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
Because you can think that in your normal ear, your ear is actually designed for a reason. It does give you localization cues. So when you put a hearing aid actually on top of your ear, sometimes your localization can go a little bit wonky. So we are trying to put more algorithms into the hearing aid so you have more awareness of the environment.
It's a safety
better
thing
localization.
too, right? Yeah, I can totally see, being on vacation in a strange city, you might not hear a car coming.
Exactly.
Those sorts of things.
And so, that can be the trouble with strictly tunneling hearing aids because say if there's someone in front of you and the hearing aid thinks that you want to strictly listen to them, but maybe there's something in the back of you that you want to listen to, you might not even be aware that sound or that person is there.
Now, you talked about that sort of a round sound, the omnidirectional microphone and then the unidirectional microphone or the forward. Can you change it manually, say on your phone, to say, okay, I'm in a loud restaurant now, I'm only talking to Ted, I need to hear him and get rid of all the other noise. Can you tell the hearing aids to go to a specific program?
So yes, so we do have an app. So with our new hearing aids, which are called the Lynx 3D, we have our Smart 3D app. So you can change programs. So generally people will have an all-around program that they use for every day. And then you might also have a restaurant program. And in that restaurant program in our app, if you do have the gold medal hearing aids, the premium hearing aids, then you can zoom your microphones to be narrower or wider.
So it's possible.
Yeah.
And so people who are younger, who maybe needed to be fitted for hearing aids and are still very active in a work environment, that high level of hearing is maybe beneficial to them versus someone who's retired, spends more time at home with one-on-one with their spouse, those sorts of things, different hearing requirements.
Definitely. Right? And that's where your audiologist or your hearing instrument practitioner really has to guide you to know what things are appropriately for you. So that's why, of course, you visit NextGen and get the appropriate information.
Yeah.
Now, the one I like is the remote microphone. So we've talked about this in the past, but explain what that is.
So essentially, it's just a very small microphone. So say if you were in a restaurant and you were still it was just very loud, you were still having trouble hearing your spouse could actually use the remote microphone. Their voice would be transmitted into the hearing aid.
So that would just on their little lapel mic, so that they're picking up very close, and that's getting transmitted.
Yeah, it's wireless.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's like akin to putting one's hearing aid up toward the lips of the speaker. I mean, it's literally, it increases the loudness of the speech compared to the noise.
Exactly.
That must be very helpful in certain situations.
Definitely, yes. And our microphones have been quite successful. So Resound also use what we call 2.4 gigahertz technology, which is Bluetooth technology. So we've been using that with all of our accessories since 2010. So it is going to give you a very good auditory signal.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and continue the conversation. That's the voice of Susan Flynn, audiologist with Resound, and our in-house expert is Dr. Ted Venema, who's here every time with NextGen Hearing. He's the... Yeah, he does that. I love that. Next on CL 650.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.